Welcome to this commercial named Celebration. The sender is Jim Beam, and they're trying to sell a bourbon whiskey. The message in this commercial is the company's heritage and the way friends and family can help you to succeed your vision. Yes. It's the first TV advertisement under Jim Beam's new campaign titled Celebration. It premiered in select US markets. The first cities who played the commercial was New York City, Los Angeles, and Chicago. And in the end of the month, it was nationwide. During the Super Bowl, the commercial was shown for the first time. The spot tells the story of James B. Beam leading up to the end of Prohibition and a group of family and friends who helped him rebuild the brand's now iconic distillery in around 120 days following the law's repeal. They focus a lot on the Prohibition. The Prohibition was from 1920 to 1933. They talk about how determined Jim was that his distillery should be ready when the Prohibition was cancelled. Now, let's try to watch the commercial.
While America celebrated the fall of Prohibition, Jim Beam didn't raise a single glass. He wanted his first drink to be of his own bourbon. He didn't have much money, but he did have a few friends, people who were raised the right way. Over 120 days, they rebuilt the distillery. And while their names might not be on our bottle, it's because of them we can raise this bourbon.
The people who are in the commercial are mostly men, but there's also some women. They are described very old-fashioned, which makes it all fits in with the year itself the commercial was supposed to be from. The first thing we see in the commercial is a lot of people who are in a club and partying. The next thing we see is a man standing and looking at an old building, where he stands and tells about the things he wants to achieve. After that, we see his friends coming to back him up and helping to accomplish the things he wants to achieve. And in the end of the commercial, we see the product the whole commercial is about.
The center of the commercial creates awareness by creating a lot of mood and action in the form of a lot of happy people partying at the start of the commercial. The commercial should imagine being old, and therefore you can see that it caters mostly to slightly older people, and especially men, which you also can see because the actors in the commercial are mostly men, and that's why you can see it creates most interest for men. It also catches mostly to Americans, as the whole commercial is built on the American dream, the move from being nothing to being successful. The commercial also tells a lot about the alcohol ban that was from the 1920s to the 1933 in America. In the commercial, they show a Woods community about the whiskey. People laugh together, but they also work hard to achieve the project they are doing together. So customers could buy this whiskey in desire of more community. It takes action by telling the story about this man who wanted to make his own thing, start his own brand and become something. The commercial tells a great part of the history of the Americans. I think this commercial creates good satisfaction with the Americans, as it is built around a big thing that happens in the 1900s and which affected all the Americans.
They also use a lot of visual techniques in this commercial. One of the first thing you hear is a man's voice that is very deep and very recognizable. If I heard this voice, I would recognize it right away. They don't really use one kind of color in the commercial, but it's clear to see what they wanted to do with it. They wanted to show us how it was back in 1795 and how Jim Beam did not drink and how his friend helped him to rebuild his distillery, so it makes us understand and appreciate his work. But the best way to remember a product in a commercial is to see it. And the last thing the commercial shows us is 3 people sitting at a bar and enjoying a glass of Jim Beam. As an oral technique, they use God's voice, as I told you before. A deep, manly voice that guides us through the commercial and tells us a little story. The man's voice is something that you will remember and something that will make you connected with the commercial. Last, in the commercial, we see 3 people sitting in a bar and enjoying a bottle of Jim Beam bourbon. And they put the drink on the table and gives us a slogan, raised right.